there is something people don't usually say out loud. There's a certain kind of intelligence that isn't taught in classrooms or measured on IQ tests. It isn't celebrated like academic brilliance or social charisma, and it isn't obvious at first glance. It develops quietly, usually in moments of pain, uncertainty, fear, or survival. And unlike other forms of intelligence, this one isn't something you aim to build. It's something that forms in response to what you've lived through. This kind of intelligence is born in childhood homes where silence carried weight, in moments where emotions felt unsafe to express, in relationships that required caution, and in situations where you had to learn quickly, not because you wanted to, but because you had to. If you've ever felt like you read situations differently than others, like you sense danger before it appears, or like you understand emotions more deeply, because you've lived through difficult things, you might have what can be called traumatic intelligence. And here's the part most people don't realize. This kind of intelligence is powerful, but it's also heavy. It gives you awareness, perception, empathy, and emotional depth, but it can also leave you feeling tired, guarded, and misunderstood. It's both a gift and a weight, and understanding it is the first step toward making sense of yourself. Because what looks like overthinking on the outside is often something deeper on the inside. So let's explore 10 signs that you might have traumatic intelligence. But make sure you stay until the end, because the last sign is the most revealing, and one of the clearest signs of traumatic intelligence. Sign number 1. You read people instantly, without them saying much. If you have traumatic intelligence, you probably developed the ability to read people very early in life. You don't just listen to words, you notice tone, pauses, body language, emotional shifts, and subtle inconsistencies. Even when someone says, "I'm fine," you can sense when they aren't. This isn't a magic skill. It's survival-based awareness. When your early environment was unpredictable or emotionally unsafe, your brain learned to detect subtle cues to protect you. You had to sense when someone was upset, when tension was building, or when it was safer to stay quiet. As a result, you became highly attuned to people's moods and motives. Today, you might find that you notice things others miss. The change in someone's energy when they enter a room, the hesitation before someone speaks, or the hidden emotions behind a casual statement. The world calls this intuition, but it didn't come out of nowhere. It came from experience. It came from learning that understanding others quickly could protect you, and that awareness has become part of how you navigate the world. Sign number 2. You anticipate problems before they happen. Another sign of traumatic intelligence is your ability to anticipate issues long before they unfold. You often see potential problems earlier than others do, not because you're negative, but because your mind is constantly scanning for risk. This ability developed because at some point in your life, unpredictability wasn't just uncomfortable, it was threatening. So your mind learned to stay ahead of situations. You analyze possibilities, prepare for worst-case scenarios, and think several steps ahead. While this helps you avoid danger and make careful decisions, it can also feel exhausting. Your mind rarely relaxes because it's always running predictions. Even when things are calm, part of you stays alert. People may call you cautious or overly analytical, but in reality, your mind is doing what it learned to do long ago: protect you by preparing for what could go wrong. Sign number 3. You struggle to trust easily. Trust isn't something you give quickly, and it's not because you're cold or distant. It's because somewhere along the way, trust was broken. You learned that opening up too quickly could lead to disappointment, betrayal, or emotional pain. Because of this, you tend to observe people carefully before letting them in. You pay attention to patterns, consistency, and behavior over time. You don't rely on words alone. You look for proof. This caution can protect you from harmful relationships, but it can also make connection difficult. You may find yourself holding back, even when part of you wants to be close to someone. You want connection, but you also want safety. And balancing those two can feel like a constant inner negotiation. Sign number 4. You feel emotions deeply, even when you don't show it. Traumatic intelligence often comes with emotional depth. You feel things strongly: joy, sadness, empathy, hurt, even if you don't always express them outwardly. From the outside, you might appear calm or composed, but inside, your emotional world is rich and complex. You've learned how to hold emotions quietly, often because expressing them wasn't always safe or understood. So you became skilled at containing what you feel. But those feelings don't disappear. They stay with you, sometimes longer than you'd expect. You might replay emotional moments, reflect on them deeply, and try to understand them from every angle. This gives you insight and empathy, but it can also make emotional experiences heavier for you than for others. Sign number 5. You are highly independent, sometimes to your own detriment. People with traumatic intelligence often grow up learning to rely on themselves. When support wasn't guaranteed or felt unreliable, you adapted by becoming self-sufficient. You learned how to manage challenges alone, solve problems independently, and keep moving forward even without help. While this independence is a strength, it can also become a barrier. You might struggle to ask for help, even when you need it. You may feel uncomfortable relying on others or fear becoming a burden. This isn't because you don't want support. It's because at some point, depending on others felt risky, and your mind adapted by making independence feel safer. Sign number 6. You have a strong sense of empathy. Because you've experienced emotional difficulty, you're more sensitive to the struggles of others. You understand pain not just conceptually, but emotionally. When someone is hurt, you don't just notice, you feel it. This empathy allows you to connect with people deeply. Others may feel safe around you because they sense that you truly understand. But this empathy can also be overwhelming. You might absorb other people's emotions and carry them with you, even when they aren't yours to hold. Empathy is a beautiful trait, but when combined with traumatic intelligence, it can sometimes leave you emotionally drained. Sign number 7. You overthink and replay scenarios. People with traumatic intelligence often have minds that don't easily let go. You replay conversations, analyze past decisions, and think deeply about situations. You may wonder what you could have done differently or what might happen next. This habit developed because careful thinking once helped you avoid harm. Your brain learned that analyzing situations could keep you safe. But in the present, this same pattern can lead to overthinking. You might find yourself stuck in loops of thought, trying to make sense of things that don't have clear answers. Your mind is trying to protect you, but it can also tire you out. Sign number 8. You're extremely self-aware. Another sign of traumatic intelligence is deep self-awareness. You reflect on your actions, emotions, and motives. You try to understand yourself and grow from your experiences. This introspection often comes from having to make sense of difficult situations early in life. You became aware of your reactions, patterns, and emotional responses because understanding them felt necessary. While this self-awareness leads to growth and insight, it can also make you self-critical. You might overanalyze yourself or hold yourself to high standards, but this awareness also gives you the ability to change, adapt, and grow in meaningful ways. Sign number 9. You value depth and meaning. Small talk doesn't satisfy you for long. You crave deeper conversations, ones that explore thoughts, emotions, ideas, and experiences. You want meaning in your relationships, your work, and your life. This desire for depth comes from your internal world. Because you think deeply and feel intensely, surface-level interactions can feel empty. You're drawn to authenticity, sincerity, and genuine connection. This doesn't mean you reject fun or lightness. It simply means that beneath everything, you're searching for something meaningful. Sign number 10. You protect your inner world. One of the clearest signs of traumatic intelligence is the way you protect your inner world. You don't share everything with everyone. You're selective about who sees your deeper thoughts and feelings. This protectiveness developed because your inner world feels personal, and you learned that not everyone will handle it with care. So you choose carefully who you open up to. And when you do trust someone, you offer depth, loyalty, and understanding. This isn't secrecy, it's self-protection. Traumatic intelligence is not something you asked for. It developed as a response to what you've experienced. It shaped how you think, how you feel, how you protect yourself, and how you relate to the world. It gives you insight, empathy, awareness, and resilience. But it also carries weight. It can make trust difficult, emotions heavy, and thinking relentless. Understanding this part of yourself is not about labeling your past. It's about understanding your present. When you recognize these patterns, you gain the ability to balance them. You can honor the strengths they gave you while learning to release the burdens they created, because you are not defined by what you went through, but the awareness you carry because of it. And maybe the most powerful part of traumatic intelligence isn't the pain that shaped it, but the depth, compassion, and wisdom it allows you to bring into the world. And sometimes, people with traumatic intelligence don't react loudly to pain. They go quiet. Not because they don't feel it, but because they've learned to carry it alone. And if that feels familiar, watch this video next, because it will help you understand why you go silent when you're hurt.